Hello peoples, here's a quick review on using the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations prior to your test next week. Now you'll be given the quadratic formula for the test, but here it is here. I recommend that you copy it down so that you can refer to it during this video. Now it is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Now those a, b, and c values come from the standard form of the quadratic equation. And remember that the expression under the radical is the discriminant, and that if it is positive, that means you have two real number solutions. And if it is 0, you have one real number solution, and if it's negative, then your solution will include the imaginary number I. All right, let's go look at our examples. Remember to pause when you need to, take notes, and note any questions that you will bring back to your teacher or the Algebra 2 teacher who's scheduled to tutor. Okay, now, our first equation is x squared minus 8x minus 33 is equal to 0. So a is 1, b is negative 8, and c is negative 33. Now we're going to just plug those into the formula and proceed. This plugging into the formula is part of what you will show for your work. Now the first thing you want to do is calculate the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. So I plug in my a, b, and c values, and I see that my discriminant is 196. That is a positive number, so I know I will have two real number solutions. All right, so now that I know that the discriminant is 196, I know what to put under the radical. I do that, and if I put the square root of 196 in my calculator, I will find that that is 14. So that's great. I don't have to deal with any simplification of radicals here. So I'm on my way to my answer. I have two answers because of that plus and minus. I have x is equal to 8 plus 14 divided by 2, which is, it turns out, 11. And I have the negative case, the minus case. X is equal to 8 minus 14, which it turns out is negative 3. And so I can write my answer like this. X is equal to 11. X is equal to negative 3. Or I can put it in these curly brackets. Note it's not in parentheses. It's not a coordinate pair. It is a solution, and you can express your solution like this. Pause now and make sure that you have this example copied down. Now, here we go to example number 2. Now this time I have negative x squared minus x plus 12. And so a is equal to negative 1. B is also equal to negative 1, and c is equal to 12. So my first step will be to plug those into the quadratic formula in order to show my work and to make sure that I really have taken care of all the negative signs that I need to. For example, b is negative 1. The formula says negative b, so I have negative 1. And if I'm going to put this in my calculator, and you will, make sure that you put parentheses around any negative number that you square. Okay, so next I'm going to calculate my discriminant, and I find that it's 49. So now I know what goes under that square root. So I write that out, and I see that I have 1 plus or minus the square root of 49 divided by negative 2. Now luckily the square root of 49 is 7, so what I really have is 1 plus or minus 7, all divided by negative 2. Now let's go ahead and simplify that, do the arithmetic, and see what our answers are. So don't forget, you have the plus case. In our case, that's 1 plus 7 divided by negative 2, which is 8 divided by negative 2, which gives us an answer of negative 4. And I have x is equal to 1 minus 7 divided by negative 2, which ends up being 3. And so I have my two answers. X is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 3. Or I can write my solutions in curlicue brackets separated by a comma, like you see here. Now here is our third and last example. I want to give you an example that would require the use of the imaginary number I. So here it is. In this case, A is 9, B is negative 36, and C is 38. All right, you know what to do. You're going to plug that into the quadratic formula, taking care of your negative signs. So for example, it's negative B, so I have negative 38. And since B is negative, when I square it, I want to make sure I put it in parentheses. So then I calculate B squared minus 4AC. Now, as we've discussed, or as you may remember, if the discriminant is negative, that means I have a non-real answer that will involve the imaginary number I. So what do you do next? Well, the next thing you're going to do is write your quadratic formula now that you know what the discriminant is, and you're going to try to simplify the square root of negative 72. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the number negative 72 and we are going to make a prime, or not exactly a prime factoring tree, but we're going to make a factoring tree. And you'll notice that the very first number that I factored out was negative 1. And then I worked on 72. Now, I didn't go all the way down to prime numbers because I know that 4 and 4 are perfect squares, so I don't need to go any further than that. But I found that negative 72 is equal to negative 1 times 4 times 4 times 2. Now, as you know, if you're simplifying a square root, anytime you find a pair of numbers, you can take them outside of the square root. And also, as you may remember, the square root of negative 1 is equal to I. So all of that can come outside of the square root, and the square root of negative 72 ends up being equal to 4I, the square root of 2. That's all that's left under the square root. Now that I've done that, I can go back to my simplified form of the quadratic formula. I end up with 36 plus or minus 4I over the square root of 4I times the square root of 2, all divided by 2 times A, which is 18. All right, now I have to go ahead and simplify this answer. So I have 36 over 18 as one fraction plus 4I square root of 2 over another fraction. I chose to separate out my fractions. Once I do that, I can use the alpha y equal feature of my calculator to help me simplify my fractions. So I would use alpha y equal, put in 36 over 18, and it would tell me that that is 2. I would also use alpha y equal to simplify 4 over 18, not the I, just the 4 over 18, and it would tell me that that is 2 over 9. So voila, I have simplified my fractions without too much pain. And don't forget that I have the plus answer and the minus answer here. So these are my two answers. Now make sure that you copy down this example, especially if you have questions, and ask your friendly Algebra 2 teacher at Cedar Ridge High School any questions, or talk to them about anything you don't understand. Peace out, folks, and good luck on this test.